Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, LinkedIn. Thank you for joining us today. Today, I have my friend Madelyn Donovan here with me, and we are here to talk about what Madelyn does when she is new in a HubSpot account. I like to start these by kind of talking through why this is a really hard question. uh, Last session with Trisha, with my friend Trisha, she mentioned she has called HubSpot multiple times and asked them for like a list, and they've been like, "Sorry, that doesn't exist." So Madelyn, why is this hard in your opinion?
Yeah, um, so many reasons, but,
Just a
um,
quick intro, easy question.
yeah. Like, everybody has their own specialty with HubSpot, so everybody has, like, their favorite tools that they might wanna use, so naturally you gravitate towards checking those things out in a HubSpot portal, but every client's different, every industry is different, um and yeah, you kinda know nothing, and there's so much there's so much to look at, like, you have no baseline yet.
Mhm.
Um, and, HubSpot's your supposed to be your single source of truth, so finding that baseline is super important, but you don't have it yet. So, yeah.
So talking a little bit about that, you and I were talking before the show. You and I both kind of lean towards the marketing tools. I was just telling someone recently, like when I get into a marketing hub tool, I'm like, I'm home. Like it's like home base.
Yes.
Like when I'm in the service tools, or I was just setting up my course sign up yesterday, and I was working a lot in the commerce tool, and I was like, if even though it's all HubSpot, it definitely was like stretching different parts of me. But then I went to make an email, and I was like, here we are.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Or if you see that they're actually using that too, then it's like, "Oh my gosh, they actually will know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about this." Yeah, definitely.
That's true. I sometimes think I can get a little jargony or things, and when you're working with a new client, there's a little period of time where you're like, where are you on the level? Where what are
Yeah.
you saying? And a lot of times, I find people will tell me they don't know anything in HubSpot, and then they end up knowing more than they think they do.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, or they can imagine that a tool would exist, but maybe they don't know exactly what it's called. I feel like
Mhm.
that happens a lot too.
Yeah, and then it's just as easy as showing them where it is.
Yeah.
Um, so then what are some of the tools you check out first when you get into a new portal?
Yeah, I would say I was trying to think through it this morning, like, what do I actually like, what's the very first thing? Because I would say there's probably, like, 5 big things that I like to do, but, um, it's like, what mood am I in that morning, when I log in? And HubSpot prompts you with, um, how well do you know HubSpot?" And you're like, "I know my way around HubSpot pretty well. Skip all the tutorials, please."
I
Um,
know. Every time I click that button, I am like, "I got this."
yeah, you're like, "Yeah." Um, but I think for me, I'm always like my first broad question in my brain is like, how are they using HubSpot? Like, why do they use it? What's the extent of how much they use it? And to me, that's like life cycle stages is
Mm,
a pretty that's like a pretty basic I say basic, but it's like that's a very standard first thing, but
mhm,
it's also essential and it like is super important to like anything else that you do in HubSpot anywhere.
mhm,
So like do they even know what that is? Do they have custom life cycle stages? How many contacts or companies or yeah, like contacts and companies do they have in each stage?
mhm,
Um, do they know that? Do they know that? Do they know what the other category means to them?
mhm.
Like it's a whole yeah, it's like a Pandora's box. But I think that's kind of where I start, and then everything else kind of branches off from there.
Yeah. Like, I don't think, Trisha and I touched on that, but life cycle stages are definitely something I will check in on, and you can kind of start to see how the database is segmented.
Yes.
Because often, if you don't know you're using life cycle stages, maybe
Yeah.
is how I'll phrase it. You'll have a lot of people in lead. You might have a lot of people in customer, and then even sometimes there's like an MQL or SQL that's like has a lot of people, but like pretty much
Yes.
everywhere else is like zero or like one or two, and you're
Yeah.
like, that's odd.
Especially like if you're working with a heavy sales team, like if your client has a sales team in general, they like if they aren't comfortable with life cycle stages, they never realize that HubSpot by default automates when a deal is created, it turns them into an opportunity.
Mhm.
And of course, there's a lot of like jargon in sales world around opportunity and lead and everything. So yeah, it's like how many actual opportunities do they have that don't have any deals attached anymore, or how
Mhm.
many of those opportunities have only lost deals, or
Mhm.
you can tell a lot of like just how much they use HubSpot, how well they use HubSpot, how comfortable they are customizing it and using it regularly. um yeah.
Yeah, and I think I've historically been pretty quick to remove the
Oh
not
yeah, evangelist.
evangelist. I was going to evangelic. Different, it's a different thing. Evangelist life cycle stage, but I just saw a post recently. Um, I think it was either George or Kyle about like the value in that life cycle stage, which got me considering like I'm probably too quick to get that guy out of
Yeah.
there.
Well, and I think too, like I feel like people, I don't know, in the past, whenever I worked on a team, everybody was always really quick to be like, shouldn't we have this as a life cycle stage? Shouldn't we add this? Shouldn't we add this? And for a while, you couldn't even do that. You couldn't even add custom life cycle stages, um, let alone rename them. But I was always very like, let's try to keep it simple so that we can keep it like consistent and use the tool like let's keep as few life cycle stages as possible and then drill down into more detailed properties
Mhm,
under it. Um, but then you run into things like the evangelist stage, or
mhm,
I always add a partner stage if
mhm,
that's a relationship that they have.
mhm.
Um, I don't know. Yeah, it's new. It's different now.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and I was just when the custom object change came out earlier this week, I was saying on the morning show, like, I am probably sounding like a crotchety old person because I was like, don't change your objects." And that's like I agree with you. I'm very hesitant whenever a client wants to change their life cycle stages. I'm like, let's hold up. Let's like really
yeah,
think, do we need that? Is that really a life cycle stage or is that like a status or a
right.
something like that?
Yeah,
All right. So you've checked the life cycle stages. And out of checking the life cycle stages, you're getting an idea of how customized the account is, how much use there is, and things like that. What else? What other tools are you looking at?
yeah. I think too, it helps me get an idea of like even their sales cycle or how they view their customer journey. Especially like naturally, then I think deal stages and pipelines.
Mhm,
Um, like if we are thinking that an opportunity is someone that has a deal attached and a customer is someone that has a one deal attached, then what do those deals look like, or how long is that deal cycle? um, so then I typically look at the deal pipelines. First of all, do they have separate pipelines? Like how many do they have? Is it a little scary looking at first? um, and like just sheer number of deal stages in each pipeline. Because I think the standard is like 5 or 6, maybe. Um, but do they have way too many deal stages?
Mhm.
Uh, then I'm like, oh, this is gonna be. I'm just gonna exit out of that tab for now. I'm gonna deal with this another day. Um, or does it like also when I'm looking at if I go to settings, I like to look at it that way
Mhm.
because then I can quickly change pipelines, see all the stages in one view. But you also see the required fields
Mhm.
and or not required fields, like dependent fields, I guess.
Mhm.
And like do they even like if they have dependent fields there, then I kind of I'm just happy because that means that they are thinking about what information is relevant to each stage.
Mhm.
Um, I'm also like, is this a required field? Does it like, can they just skip this? Um, yeah, kind of go, and then that leads into like, again, so many different things, but I think that's like a natural next step of
Mhm.
like, all right, we know how they treat contacts and company, we know how they treat the people. Now we know how they treat like their sales process
Mhm.
and we're like we have a glimpse into if they've like systematized their sales process a
Mhm.
little bit. So,
Yeah, so you're really at first just getting a feel for the setup of the
yeah,
sales, the handoff, and then the sales process
yeah.
overall.
And
Um,
that's very much a marketing thing probably. Especially like for B2B teams that deal so closely with sales.
mhm.
Um, it's like that's always on my mind
Mhm.
because if like as a marketer you have to know the definitions, like you have to know that you and sales understand what an MQL is, what an SQL, or if you even use those terms, but like you have to understand so that you can move people into the right processes and stuff. So
Yeah. I think that's all very smart ways to start, and also ways that you can immediately start talking to the people who are using
yes,
HubSpot. Because if you
yeah,
talk about life cycle stages, but it's very clear that they haven't had them set up, to your point, like, they're not gonna know what you're talking about. They're gonna
yeah, yeah.
cover those.
Well, and I think like deal stages and pipelines are, yeah, probably a little bit easier to grasp for
Mhm.
someone who just doesn't, hasn't committed to like documenting this stuff in their CRM. Um, because even if they don't have it properly mapped in HubSpot, they probably know what their revenue streams are for their business and like what the logical steps are and who's involved at each stage and all of that kind of stuff. Ideally, I don't think they would be a functioning. I don't think they'd still be here if they didn't know all of that stuff. So, um,
They're probably not buying HubSpot and not
yeah,
hiring
yeah,
someone to help with front if they
yeah,
don't have that mapped out, yeah, yeah. I think what's also interesting, I say sometimes when I'm auditing an account, like, especially you can tell when it was, like, a startup and, like like, you can tell I don't have to know anything else about the business. If you show me, like, the HubSpot settings and stuff, I can pretty quickly figure out, like, "Oh, this was not built by one person intentionally.
right,
This was, like,
right, yeah.
multiple help. Someone was told to, like, make something happen, and they did."
Yep. Or yeah, like a bunch of uh properties that you don't know what they sound really similar or they were created by different people but they sound like they serve the same purpose. Yeah, like you can just see that. Um
And
yeah.
I'm even thinking, like, when I see a lot of different pipelines or a lot of different state deal stages, sometimes that can be, um,
Yes.
something a startup might do because, and even sometimes it's like, well, Joe sells deals differently than Sue does, so we have a
Right.
different pipeline for each of them because they just do it differently, and you're like, "Well, that's not quite the purpose."
Right. Or you're like, "Well, what happens in this deal stage?" And they'll be like, "Well, it doesn't always happen." It's like, "Okay, well then maybe this isn't a deal stage." or, maybe it's just a totally different pipeline, or maybe that's something that isn't really that essential to record like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So we've done life cycle stages, we've done deal pipeline, deal stages. Where else are you going?
Yeah, I think so. The next two places that I think I go kind of like in tandem are I wrote it down as existing stuff. Because I don't know how,
All
like,
right.
a
Very,
category.
very concrete stuff there.
But I wrote down, like, so how many workflows do they
Mhm,
have? And, like, how many of those are even on?
mhm,
Um, how many reports do they have? How many of those are actually on a dashboard? How many dashboards do they have? When's the last time those were even viewed? Like, basically, how much stuff are they creating
mhm,
but never using it again? Like,
mhm,
are they just trying things and like forgetting about them? Or it, even if they're all on and they're all being used, I don't care how many, workflows and stuff you have. Like, I'm sure there's a reason for it.
mhm.
We'll see when we get there.
That was an
but
optimistic view. I love
but
that.
it's like, is there a lot of old stuff? Like, is there a lot of trash, for lack of a better word? Like, is there a lot of like old stuff that we just kind of need to clean through so that people are less overwhelmed? Because
Mhm,
I'm overwhelmed by that stuff, let alone someone who's like not super comfortable with HubSpot and just kind of needs a little hand holding. Um, so yeah, and if it is super well maintained, for example, like duplicate contacts, or one of my clients the other day, she asked me, like, can we make it so that every new contact is a marketing contact? Um, and instantly in my head, I was like, oh, but I want her to know how to make them not a marketing contact. But she was ahead of me, and she was like, I will make them a non-marketing contact if I have to. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, I'll do that for you. Like, I'll set up a workflow. Um, and I set the workflow to be like, look at this list of marketing contacts, look at this list of non marketing contacts. Whoever isn't defined, make them a marketing contact. Um, and there were zero undefined when I set up that workflow. So I was like, oh, good job. Like, he's so on top of it. Like, um, so if I can see like things like that where they are maintaining things,
mhm,
um, then I already know, like, number one, I know I don't have to worry about that. But number two, I know that they have that, like, that brain. Like, they can, okay, they're capable and like confident doing this. I bet I can get them to also do this.
mhm.
So,
Yeah. And I think one thing I see sometimes in accounts also is like you'll go into reports and there will be nothing there. Like,
yes.
and you're like, oh, okay, something something is wrong.
Yeah. Or it's like, I bet they are doing reporting. Where are they doing it? Is it
Mhm,
in a spreadsheet somewhere?
mhm.
Or, yeah, yeah,
And it can also identify what tools that they either
yes.
don't know exist or don't know how to use, one or the other.
Yes. Yeah, and also, like, if like, do they think that report sounds right? Or, like, maybe it's using a certain property that isn't actually the property they want it to be reporting on? Like, it's named something different, and they didn't realize that when they set up the report. That's something that maybe only the admin would know.
Mhm.
Um, So, yeah, lots of, obviously, so much stuff that you can learn from their reports.
Yeah. I just had a client a couple weeks ago say to me, like, we want to delete all of our reports. We just want to start over. They were like,
I
because
feel them.
because like, and I do this all the time. I can't find the report immediately, so I just like I make a report
Yeah.
and I'll save it because I want to access it later or I want to send it to my client. I'm sure I've done this probably hundreds of times.
Yeah,
And
same.
probably sometimes the reports that I've made that I just like, I sometimes call it in Google Drive like SEOing your document name. Um,
Ooh, yeah,
and it's kind of the same thing with reports and workflows and emails, like SEOing that so you can actually find it
yeah,
and getting a good, consistent nomenclature.
yeah,
I am hopeful, though. I think the AI capabilities are getting to a point where they're helping with some of that, though, too.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's an opportunity, hopefully, in the future.
yeah,
But yeah, getting to know how much stuff there is built. I think you're right that it gives you two insights. Like again, like how familiar are they? How likely are they to customize? Because if they have a lot of reports, then that's almost a good thing. Like they're using HubSpot, like
right,
that's great. But if they have too many reports, then like there's some sort of probably knowledge gap or
right.
just general cleanup effort that needs to be done.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of flows really naturally into um, like users and roles.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite reports to create is like, um, oh, I guess I typically start with companies, but like number of companies in each life cycle stage,
Mm-hmm.
and then broken down by company owner.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it looks like a rainbow, I'm like, oh, I wonder, do we have a system here? Is this intentional? Are they actually? I feel like people don't. The average new HubSpot user doesn't realize the power in having like just managing your owners, your company owners, contact owners, deal owners.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't realize how easy that makes everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, from your notifications to like just customizing your index page views and like your reports, like these simple things, these simple native settings just make it, it makes everything so simple. Like you can filter your entire dashboard by just team member or like
Mm-hmm.
contact owner or things like that. So um, I love looking at that. Um,
Yeah, one of my clients, the same one that wanted to delete all the reports, part of in that process, one thing they were asking was for a report of all the companies with deals where the companies were in like Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Virginia or whatever.
yeah,
And I was like, okay, yeah, no problem. And that was fairly easy to put together. So I did that. But it turns out they were trying to get a report of how many companies were in a specific reps region
yeah,
versus so like it's not terribly hard, but it
right,
would have been a lot easier to just be able to say all the reps in Joe's region show me those.
yeah. Yeah, and that's huge for like whenever I'm having to do like a cleanup effort too. I always say like you need one piece of true information. And like in that example, like is it the rep that is actually the contact owner?
Mhm.
Or does this is the state actually more accurate than even the contact owner being the rep? Like we,
Mhm.
we need to be able to work off of something.
Mhm.
So if both of them are wrong, or if you don't even know which one is right,
Mhm.
then like reports will definitely help you kind of like just start thinking about that. Um, so even if reports don't have the right data, or like they'll show you, even if reports don't show you what you want to see,
Mhm.
they'll show you a lot of stuff that's wrong in your CRM or that's like totally unusable.
Uh-huh.
So that's a huge thing in itself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of times you'll see too, like a bunch of companies or things associated to deactivated users and
Yes.
things like that. And that is not terribly helpful often.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And like with I think too, like user permissions and everything, teams, like permission sets give me anxiety just because they do. But like Do
And they're
they
changing a lot lately. It is like,
It's just the UI. I can't get used to that page, like setting up the permissions for whatever reason. I just cannot get used to it. Um, but yeah, like, are people even logging in regularly? Do um are they all super admins? That's a big one. Um, but if they're not a super admin, like, do they have a permission set, or like what do they have access to? Um, yeah, are they on a team? Teams, I love putting people in teams. It's just so like simple. And then you can assign things to teams instead of the person. Um, yeah. So users and roles and permissions is a huge thing in itself too.
yeah. I think you said you had 5. Did we? Is there one more? I lost count some.
Um, let's see. I think that was really it
Cool.
broadly.
Just, well, you did have one that was check everything. So that was,
Yeah.
so that really encompassed a lot with that one.
I think maybe I was thinking of like the main reason I love users, or like, permission sets and teams, and like looking at that, is because you can then customize object views and like deal stage permission. Like, that's when you really get to like automate things and set up better systems, even if the entire team as a whole doesn't use that thing. Like,
Mhm.
you can, for the sales team, set up only the views that the sales team needs to have. Like, if you have an engineering team, only those properties or views or objects. Um, like, then you can really start to personalize it at scale for everybody at your organization. Um, yeah.
Yeah. I think that is a great call out too. And I was saying the permissions on permissions
Yeah. Yeah.
have
That too.
changed a lot recently. And we just had a new update just today on a different permission changing. Um, so if you at one point felt like want to give my I didn't want to give my sales team access to companies because I didn't want them to be able to edit all companies, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Having a hard time coming up with a good example in the moment. But check out permissions again. Check out
Yeah.
permissions again.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Madeline, for joining me today. I think this was really helpful. Um, if you're watching, thank you for watching. I do have 2 sessions coming next week, so keep an eye out on my page for those. And today, I officially launched the signups for my upcoming program, 30 Minutes of HubSpot for 30 days. I'll leave a comment. I'll leave a comment here with a link to that if you'd like to sign up. If you feel like your HubSpot's a mess, we'll be kind of going through for 30 days little chunks of HubSpot so you can kind of get to know what areas of HubSpot um, might matter to you. So check that out in the comments. And thank you again, Madeline.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks so much.